We are soon going to call for a national prayer to call all corrupt people into account, and for those who fail, we will courageously declare a curse upon them.
A storm is brewing across the nation as new battle unfolds between the Anglican Church and President William Ruto's government. What started as partnership of prayer and politics now seems to have turned into full-blown confrontation.
In the government, before it speaks, has a major problem of denial. And we take this opportunity to advise more specifically Honorable Gladys Chulei and the other leaders with whom they have dared criticize the Catholic bishops that they should go slow on their attack on the Catholic bishops and the church leaders whenever we speak against corruption in this country.
The bishops are no longer just praying, they are calling for action on corruption, accountability, and unmet promises that are now shaking the foundation of this government. In an unprecedented move, the Anglican Church of Kenya, ACK, has issued a list of demands aimed directly at President Ruto. Mega corruption cases, state appointments, the mysterious prayer warriors at State House, and even the president's promise to cut foreign travel expenses. These are just the beginning. The bishops are calling for transparency and accountability on all fronts.
We therefore make these irreducible demands to the office of the president. We demand a publication of all the people who have been convicted or charged of mega corruption cases in this country. Secondly, we demand from the president a publication of all state appointments he has made since he took over the office before and after the creation of the broad-based government. This will enable us be able to assess from his desk whether there are traces of corruption in the appointments and fairness in sharing positions of leadership in this country, and Kenyans may be able to get confidence in the manner in which they have done those appointments, because that is an area where we've always raised issues in the manner in which the appointments are made. Thirdly, we demand the publication of the current state of employment and financial obligations of the staff at the State House, including the paid prayer warriors that belong to the State House list of employees. We also demand a report on the foreign travels that the president promised would be cut. There was a promise to cut down expenses on travels. We are yet to see an evidence that that is actually being done. We also demand the status of the office of the first and second ladies that the president publicly stated would be abolished because they are unconstitutional and expenditure in those areas remain unconstitutional. We need to know the status of that promised action. We also demand that the government revokes the unpopular model that segregates, the unpopular funding model that segregates our university students into economic bands and revert back to the old university funding model that was not discriminatory. Seventh, we demand that the government immediately implements the university lecturers CBA to allow normalcy to our universities. It is quite unfortunate that universities are not running as they should, yet our leaders sit pretty in their offices thinking they are leading Kenyans. Quite unfortunate and regrettable that a leader to their status would keep a blind eye on this very, very crucial issue of university lecturers. or university workers. Finally, we demand an official statement from the President on the state of the appointment of the new IEBC commissioners. Kenyans cannot continue to be treated without an IEBC, a very crucial constitutional commission that needs to be operational. Many constituencies do not have representation. An example that many people know, appointments are made. Like for me in Ugunja, I'm not represented now because my MP had been appointed to become a CS. Today, we cannot have elections in that area. Other constituencies went ahead of us. Wards are there that cannot get their representation simply because there is no IEBC. So let the President come out and tell us what is the state and where are we moving, and for how long will Kenyans stay without an IEBC? Because many things seem to be, people seem to be silent and focusing on many other things, but such crucial commissions are not being addressed. Let it be addressed.
From publishing names of those charged or convicted of corruption to revealing state appointments made before and after the formation of the so-called broad-based government, the judge is demanding full disclosure, and if that wasn't enough, they want a report on state house ceremonies and the status of the first and second ladies' offices, which the president himself had vowed to abolish. The pressure is mounting and the judge is pushing for action. But there is more. In a move that sent shockwaves across the country, the bishops have proposed a national prayer day where government officials will be summoned to answer for their actions. And if they refuse, the bishops warn that they will invoke curses upon those in power, holding them spiritually accountable for the corruption that's plaguing Kenya.
We are soon going to call for a national prayer to call all corrupt people into account, and for those who fail, we will courageously declare a curse upon them, because they are the people that are denying Kenyans what they rightfully deserve by taking more to their own coffers and refusing to share what God has given to be shared by all Kenyans in this country.
Once considered allies, the church and the president now find themselves at odds. President RUTO has often credited his victory to divine intervention, claiming prayers played a crucial role in his election. But the bishops are pushing back. They have made it clear the church did not endorse him as an institution. Only a few individual pastors did, and their views, they say, don't represent the broader church community. The bishops' frustrations go beyond politics. They are echoing the growing discontent of ordinary Kenyans, the students who can't access fair university funding, the patients in overcrowded hospitals, the families struggling to make ends meet. They argue that promises made by this government have not been kept, and Kenyans are suffering as a result.
For the sake of record purposes, and I don't want, but I will not get tired explaining this thing, because this is what I've explained severally. Whenever I meet you, I always explain this. Church did not support the president, but a section of some mongrels who thought that by associating with the president, they would gain something out of it. They are the ones who stood with the president in campaign. As a church, we don't campaign for anybody. I tell you, even in this region, we never stood up even to stand with the candidate that stood in our region. So please, understand what the church is. It's not the church as a Catholic, as an entity, national entity. Those who are sections of some people, like even ourselves here, we stand here. If he decides to go his own way, he is not the church, he is himself, but using the church as a bait for personal interest. I think I've explained it.
One bishop put it bluntly: this government has tendency of oppressing people, of lying to the citizens. The church is now making it clear that they will not sit back and pretend that everything is fine. The promises that were made during the election, from job creation to education reform, have not materialized, and it's time to hold leaders accountable.
We never.
So for future, you use the term some church leaders or some churches. Don't just brand us all as the church. Use some.
That's not us, and will never be. We know who called us.
Maybe I wanted to say something. And anytime we are going for election, we take time to pray. We take time to ask God to guide us to get a good government. So in times of election, you will find us very committed to pray for leadership. No one person in particular, but we ask God to give us direction so that we get good leaders, because we know if we get good leaders, the people will rejoice. If we get bad leaders, we will suffer. You ask what went wrong. When the government is elected, we have expectation. Now our expectation has turned out to be our problem because they are not meeting our expectation. This is a government that has tendency of oppressing people. It's a government that has a tendency of lying, and this cannot go well with the church, so to speak. There can be 1, 2, 3 clergy who are supporting them blindly, but we can all see the citizens are crying. Those who are called Mamamboga, the Boda, they are nowhere in the State House, but they were told they will be there. So this cannot allow us to say that things are right, and this is what has gone wrong, because we are not seeing the promises that were made. In the hospital, people are dying. Education is almost going to zero. We cannot sit back and pretend that nothing is happening.
Okay.
So what happens next? With the church now leading a spiritual fight for accountability, is this the beginning of new power struggle? Or will the president step up and address these mounting concerns head on? Kenya's future is hanging the balance, and with calls for curses and prayers intensifying, the stakes have never been higher. Will spiritual power reshape Kenya's political landscape? Or will the government continue to ignore the cries of its citizens? One thing's for sure: the battle for accountability has only just begun. Stay tuned, and this dramatic story continues to unfold. This is Stephen, GC News.